Rain fell on the old city and made small rivers along the stone streets. Lamps burned under wet glass. The sound of feet echoed in the alleys. The river that cut the city in two moved slow and dark under the bridges. In a narrow lane stood a little shop where a young clockmaker named Aron worked from early morning until the last lamp went out on the quay. Aron fixed watches and tower clocks, He cleaned gears, set new hands, and made hearts of metal beat again. He learned his craft from his grandfather, who left him a small brass pocket watch and a strange wall clock with a glass face. The strange clock ticked in silence, its hands resting at midnight. On its back was a tiny, coiled spiral mark, like a shell. On a night of heavy rain, the river rose. Aron worked late by lamplight. He opened a drawer and found the strange clock. The glass was cold and smooth. Around the face were 12 intricate carvings in the wood of a ship, a tower, a rose, and small scenes from the city. Aron turned the clock over, felt the spiral mark, and used a thin tool to open the back. Inside, he saw a coil of blue steel and a long spring that crossed itself. He also saw 3 empty hollows shaped like keys. He set his lamp closer and wound the main wheel with meticulous care. The clock began to tick backward. The tick was deep and soft. The second hand moved in reverse. The hour hand pulled against the shape of time, like a boat against a current. Aron held the clock to his ear. The room seemed to visibly change. The lamp flame stood taller. The rain on the glass ran upward. He felt a cold wave pass through his chest. At dawn, the city woke into a profoundly strange day. The sun lifted from the west. Bells rang in the wrong order. The market opened, then closed, then opened again in confusion. The river ran uphill for a full minute before forgetting what it had done. Reflections in windows did not match the people who passed. By noon, the city understood that something fundamental had broken. By dusk, some people had no reflection at all. Aron locked his door and faced the clock. The hands kept moving backward. The second hand made little jumps like a scared bird. The carvings seemed to glow with wet light. Aron turned the clock and read 3 worn words near the empty hollows. River, tower, garden. He understood that he had started a machine that was not complete. He understood that he had to finish what his grandfather had begun, or the city would truly fade. A line of water began to run under the door. The river had risen over the quay again, the current fast and strong. Aron closed the clock, put it in a leather bag, and took rope and tools. He blew out the lamp and stepped into the rain. He followed the slick stone steps to the low arch of the oldest bridge. Under the arch, the river spoke in a deep voice. Aron tied the rope around his waist. He slid his hands along the blocks of the arch, feeling for the heart shape. His fingers found a narrow seam. He set a hook into the seam and pulled. A small panel opened under the water. Inside the hole lay a key made of glass that did not break. It glowed with pale green. He wrapped his fingers around it and felt a vibration like a slow drum. A shadow moved beside him. He saw his own face in the river. The reflection had no eyes. It reached for him with hands made of broken surface. Aron kicked against the current and climbed the rope. The shadow hand touched his boot and slid away. He lay on the cold stones, shaking, the key shining against his chest like a piece of dawn. He returned to the shop and set the glass key into the hollow-marked river. The key locked fast. The tick grew stronger. The hands slowed, then kept moving backward. The lamps along the key burned with a very steady flame that did not flicker. Aron looked at the two remaining hollows. The tower called to him from the highest part of the city. The clock tower stood where 4 streets met. Tonight, the doors stood open. The stairs inside were dark and wet. As he climbed, he felt the time in the city push against him. Each landing felt like a loop. He climbed past the same iron window 3 times. He forced himself to keep counting the steps. He reached the room with the great pendulum. The pendulum did not swing the right way. It moved backward through its arc. The great weight hummed like a trapped bee. Aron saw a small spiral etched on the brass plate. T pressed his hand there. A section of the floor shifted, revealing a shallow box. Inside lay a key of dark iron, shaped like a tower with 4 tiny windows. The bell above him rang without a pull. The sound climbed the stairs. In reverse, he heard the last vibration first. He took the iron key and set it against his chest. He did not try to descend the normal way. He tied his rope to a beam, wrapped it around his arm, and ran along the inner wall. The pendulum swung and missed his back by a hand, but he landed hard at the base, curling to protect the key. The echo of the bell turned into a simple breath. Aron reached the shop and set the iron key into the second hollow. The metal locked into the blue steel with a sound like a clink of glass. The hands of the clock slowed again. Outside, the river fell back into its bed. The reflections in the windows began to match the people, then fell out of step again. The city was not safe, not lost. The garden remained. The garden lay behind a ruined wall near the old observatory. The gate was a sheet of iron, sealed long ago. Aron went at night because time felt softer there. He used the hammer to break the rust and a file to cut the vines. He pushed until the iron door opened a hand and then another. Inside, the garden kept its own weather. A narrow path led between tall cypress trees. He walked toward a glass house with a roof of curved panes. Inside, he saw a shallow pool set in a stone floor. The pool held water as clear as sky. It looked beyond him, showing his shop with empty tables and a street where every lamp had gone out. Aron opened the glass house door and knelt by the pool. In the center lay a small, dark shape. It was the third key. He reached into the pool. His arm went numb, and the water returned the feeling as pins of fire. He closed his fingers on the key and lifted it. The mirror face gained a mark where a hand might be, and the mark moved backward one slow point. He looked down and saw his reflection again. It opened its hand, showing the brass pocket watch his grandfather had left him, but the reflection showed the watch with the same spiral mark as the strange clock. Aron understood the piece of the puzzle the garden wanted to show him. The third key did not feel like the end. He returned to the shop. He shut his door and went straight to the work table. He opened the back of the strange clock. The last hollow waited. He placed the garden key inside. The hands of the clock stopped. The tick went silent. The room held its breath. Aron looked at the face of the clock, then at the pocket watch in his hand. He opened the watch and saw a simple movement. Under the bridge, the plate had a hollow no larger than a grain of rice. The hollow opened like a flower. Inside lay a fourth key, a tiny fragment of blue steel cut in the shape of a tear. It was the missing center. Aron fit the tear of steel into the small slot of the strange clock's mainspring. It settled with a click that sounded like the start of a rain. He closed the back and turned the winding wheel a quarter turn. The tick returned. It was not backward now. It moved forward with a deep, honest sound. The second hand stepped the right way. The hour hand pulled with the city instead against it. Aron felt the air move through his shop the way air moves after a storm breaks. Footsteps outside had a rhythm that made sense. Somewhere, a laugh rose and fell the normal way. He opened the door and stepped into the street. The last light of the real sun touched the east wall as it should. The river ran downhill with good speed. Reflections in windows smiled at their owners. The clock tower chimed, the first strike sounding first. The square filled with the normal life of a city that had just walked to the edge and taken one step back. Aron did not tell his story. He hung the strange clock above his bench and set it to the right hour. Only he could hear the deep note under its tick. It was not a warning. It was a promise. It said that a machine can be honest when its heart is complete. He kept the strange clock clean and wound and honest. He kept the pocket watch near his heart. He walked by the river and the tower and the garden as if they were normal places. He knew they were more than that, but he also knew that a city is safest when its secrets rest. He had the rhythm of a clock that matched the rhythm of his own breath. He felt the calm that follows a right repair and the clean weight of a task finished at last.